There's something powerful about the journey of leadership, the daily steps, the long-term vision, and everything we learn along the way. Welcome to Leadership Labs, where we explore these journeys with the incredible leaders of Aurora Public Schools. In each episode, we'll hear from those who are helping guide our district toward Destination APS, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Erik Cohen, principal of Harmony Ridge P8, now in his third year leading the school. Erik's journey to education spans 20 years plus, multiple states, military service, and a search for home that brought him from LA to Denver a decade ago. When he took on the principalship at Harmony Ridge, he described it as finding what he'd been searching for, a school with potential and opportunity and a great community with great kids. Let's explore how his journey shaped his leadership and what it means to finally find where you belong. Erik, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're now in your third year at Harmony Ridge.
Yes, sir.
Tell us who you are and what makes the Harmony Ridge community so special.
Well, who I am as a leader.
And a person, yeah, I know you've...
I think service probably defines, a lot of my experiences. Just looking for ways to make a difference, just leaving a mark, recognizing that, I don't really care if I'm remembered. I just want to leave things better than I found it. Which I think brings me a nice transition to Harmony Ridge. When I got there, it was very much, I think, a school that I saw that had a lot of potential, but just stuck in the improvement stage, and not quite able to turn that corner to perform. And I think I believe in people. I believe people have like an innate ability to succeed at high levels. Kids from all backgrounds have the ability. Teachers have the ability. They just need to be given the space and the time. And I think that's going into Harmony, just creating that.
In your introduction letter to families a couple of years ago, you wrote about searching for a home, both literally and professionally.
Yeah.
Can you expand on what you meant by that?
Yeah. I've always been a restless person since I was, really young. Even when I was in elementary school, I couldn't wait to get to middle school. When I was in middle school, I couldn't wait to get to high school. I was always looking forward to the next step. And even in my professional career, I started teaching on the Navajo reservation, and I taught there for about 4 years. And I think it just kind of lit a fire in the potential and opportunity that exists in education. I moved to Ohio. I went to graduate school, went back to Arizona, grew up in Los Angeles. I think maybe cost of living in LA was like, okay, probably not settling down back here. But just like really wanting to just see the world and get the most out of the unique cultures that exist, and learning and growing. And so when I was looking for that principal job, I've been in Denver for about 10 years. I wasn't looking for just any school just to get the title. It wasn't a stepping stone for me that I just had to be a principal for a few years so then I can go and do this next and keep moving. I wanted to settle down. And I think when we got to Denver 10 years ago, we loved the community. The weather, it's not LA, but it's close enough. And when I was looking for a school, I wanted a place where I can like plant some roots and grow and kind of be a part of the community, because it does get a little exhausting bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ski or snowboard or any?
I started skiing. The military has great Epic Pass deals.
Oh, that's great.
So I took advantage of that. My family, we started skiing about 5 years ago.
That's great.
And I go up a few times a year.
I've never been to Big Bear, but that's the only place you could ski, and it's fake snow, I hear.
Yeah, I've never skied in Southern California. I did do one snowboarding trip with some buddies, a long time ago. We went to Mammoth.
Oh, wow.
And I think I did Tahoe one time before that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, in that letter, I think you also mentioned that it took you nearly 20 years in education to find Harmony Ridge.
Yes.
Take us through that journey a little bit, because as you've mentioned here and otherwise, from growing up in LA, moving through multiple states,
Hmm.
military service,
Yeah.
eventually landing in education, how did all of those experience shape who you are today as a leader?
I think what really struck me about Harmony was it was this sort of like confluence of all my experiences that like existed in one community. We have a large military population, with
Mm,
Buckley being
yeah.
close by, so we have a lot of military families. The diversity is something I think I haven't experienced since I grew up in Los Angeles, which is an extremely diverse city. I've had diverse experiences, working with the Navajo
Hmm.
in Arizona, inner city in Ohio, even parts of Denver public schools, kind of very diverse. But at the same time, they were also fairly homogenous because
Right.
they were their own communities. So to see Harmony Ridge, where all of these cultures came together into just one, like,
Mm.
melting pot, um, really spoke to me a lot. And I think what kind of a competitive person. So when I see a school that is like lower performing and I believe in them, I'm like,
We can do it.
challenge accepted. Let's do it.
Yeah, I love that. Two questions here.
Yeah.
First, what drew you to education initially? And then when did you realize that you wanted to be a school principal?
Mm. What drew me to education is I don't know that I have a clear path. I did not do the best in school. I ended up graduating high school from an alternative school.
Love
Um,
it.
so it wasn't naturally like I loved school and I loved learning and I had this one teacher, and I don't have that traditional story. I think what really kind of got me was when I was finishing up my undergrad at Indiana University. I was doing the work study program, and I was working with the organization called the Middle Way House. It's a United Way group that provides transitional housing for women experiencing
Mm,
domestic violence. So there was a transitional housing apartment building in Bloomington, Indiana, and I helped tutor after school. So I would do my classes, and when the kids got home from school at about 4, I would show up there and I would help them with homework and hang out with them from 4 until 7 or 8. And I loved it, and I loved connecting with kids. Um, and my first job as a teacher kind of came because my wife was in school for education. She was a graduate student when I met her, and she was a part of a cultural immersion program
mm,
where they did their student teaching on the reservation. And she did that and wanted to do it full time as her first teaching job. I didn't have any education background outside of helping some kids tutor after school,
wow.
but I knew I liked it, and it filled my bucket. So I called that principal every summer, got a job, knowing I didn't have a license. And this was the early days of NCLB,
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
gave a little more flexibility, to schools to staff their positions. He said, if I have this job when school starts, I'll let you know and get you an emergency teaching license. Hard to fill positions out there.
Yeah.
And job was open, and he
Eventually
gave me
come.
a ninth grade English teacher job, and I got my license and started teaching and just loved it. As far as the principal goes, at first, I was probably like most teachers, seeing the administrators walk around the building and think, I want your job.
Mm,
Come in here and try to do this. Um, but I really liked the visionary aspect of leadership. I like the strategic thinking aspect of leadership. Um, I liked being able to cultivate and create a culture in a space that I'm happy at. When you move around a lot, you see a lot of
mhm.
different schools and different leaders and how things can be. And I've been in some terrible situations where you pull up to the parking lot in the morning and you have that pit in your stomach,
Mm,
and you just have to like hype yourself up to go. Um, and I was tired of that. As a leader, like, I want to create the space where people want to go, right? It's hard enough sometimes getting up on a
right.
Monday morning,
That's right.
but if, like I tell my staff, hey, if you're going to do it, let's do it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of, do you have a mentor or a leader who maybe inspired you, or who you go to even now when you're
Um,
thinking through a challenge or needing some help?
when I was a doctoral student, I had a really good mentor, Dr. Raymond Calabrese. He kind of opened my eyes to like positive thinking and how you reframe situations, from challenges to opportunities. He was really helpful, I think, in framing my perspective on leadership from an asset-based perspective. Since I've been in Denver, I've worked with Dr. Ron Cabrera.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ron.
That's right.
He's watching for about 4 years, and he brought a lot of balance and grounding to how I approach things. Because as leaders, we have so many things thrown our way. We're trying to navigate, like not just like school related issues, but like the impact society has on schools. And it could be heavy and it could be a lot. He's been extremely like helpful in just helping me like ground myself, prioritize, think strategically, um, and just approach it like with heart and like intention.
Yes, shout out to Ron. He is a good friend and former colleague and mentor of mine as well.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time talking with Ron, especially when I was out in the Western Slope.
Yeah.
So actually give quite a bit of credit to Ron for bringing me back to the Denver metro area and finding a home here in Aurora.
He actually encouraged me to look at Harmony.
Yeah.
When I was, I was in BPS, and I'm a loyal person,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm loyal, I'm committed, almost to a fault, where I didn't look outside of Denver public schools for a job. And he pushed me and encouraged me, like, look somewhere else. You never know. Like, you don't know what opportunities lie if you're just limiting yourself. So I remember coming across Harmony right after a meeting him and I had, and I kind of brought the school to him, and he said, I haven't seen you this excited about something like this in a long time. You have to do it.
You did it. You did it. That's great. Okay, so, you have been at Harmony now for 3 years.
Yes, this is my third year.
How has the school evolved during your leadership, and what are you most proud of over the course of the last previous 2 school years?
I think I'm most proud of being a performance school. I think we are kind of on the cusp, right? Like for years the school was sitting at yellow, and then I got there, and we flipped it pretty quick. Now as far as SPF percentage goes, we're number 5 in the district.
Yes.
So we went from an afterthought to probably making people down here really nervous. Hey, we got this new school and this new community. Why is it not, excelling? So I'm proud of the performance of the school, of the kids. I think, the school has evolved. That I would defer to teachers who have probably been there before, because we have some teachers on staff that were there from the school's founding till now, so they can speak to how the school has changed. But I would just say culturally, it's evolved. It's got a strong culture of expectation, a culture of academics, culture of fun. Just when people come to visit and they ask me what to look for, I say just check the vibe. How does it feel when you walk in? Does it feel warm? Does it feel welcoming? Does it feel calm?
Right.
And I think that it does, and that's a lot different than I think what the school was when I went to visit in May before I started, just to kind of get a sense. I was a little overwhelmed with the work that it was going to take. So I think it's evolved from kind of maybe a tumultuous, chaotic setting to like a good vibe.
That's amazing. You know that moving to a new school, especially as principal, means building trust with a community that doesn't know you yet.
Yeah.
You even talked about that in the opening letter, that there's going to come a time when I don't have to introduce myself to you all. And until then, here's a little bit about me. How did you approach establishing, those relationships, especially in the in the early months, that first year?
That was harder than I thought. it was definitely harder than I thought. I was coming from a school where we had to put structures in place and boundaries around parental involvement because we had such high parental involvement and engagement. So it was definitely a shift going to a place where I had to be more active and kind of building that trust. And it was a little harder. There's, Harmony is it's in a great community, strong working class. So people aren't there all day long volunteering. They got to work.
Right.
So it's really about making yourself available outside of working hours, putting together some events for the community. Um, and even something as simple as weekly messages where I get to share a little bit about myself, um, that I'm not just the principal, that I'm this person. Um, knowing the kids, knowing their names,
Yeah.
being present, being visible, responding to emails right away. I think it's still ongoing. I think it's definitely a longer process that there's no destination to I've achieved full parental trust. You keep working at it, you keep building it.
Yeah, and as a PA, you get new families every year, and families moving in and out.
It's great with the PA, and you have the siblings that come through, and you get to know the kids and the families over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of revisit the idea of the finding that school with potential and opportunity. But I think as we talk about building those relationships in a new community, how does one know that it's the right fit as a leader? Yeah,
that's a good question, because that's what I'll tell people a lot if they'll ask me, if they're interested in making that jump, moving. I say it's got to be a good fit. That's a hard one to like explain. There's a little bit of it that's like you feel it, you kind of know it. Like, I know education in a lot of ways has gotten very technical, with where we're trying to quantify things and we have data and we're quantifying teacher performance, student performance, and metrics and feedback. But you can't understate how human of a job it is and how personal of a job it is, that you can't remove that, not only from a school and from your work, but even from like a feel you get going into a school.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to explain. I think it will depend on the person,
yeah, for sure. You've touched a little bit about that vibe check when somebody goes into Harmony Ridge.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to create that sense of home or sense of belonging for families and students at Harmony?
I mean, I think that's the most important thing. I don't think kids are going to learn. I don't think teachers are going to teach. I don't think we're going to be able to do the job if people don't feel like they belong there.
Mm-hmm.
We put some structures in place, connection circles, morning meetings, strong emphasis on social emotional learning. I bring kind of a philosophy of like whole child philosophy, that, like rigorous academics and, nurturing like the social emotional well-being of kids can happen at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. And I think that just it's not just the simple like high-fiving kids in the hallway or doing those kind of things. It's like knowing their names. It is talking to families. It is making sure that the teachers can breathe and allow those relationships to develop in the classroom and not have to be on page whatever on this date and keep, you go slow to go fast.
Right.
You remove some of those like high pressure expectations on academics, probably for the first like quarter, month of school.
Right.
Just build relationships, get our culture right, and then you'll actually move through the academics a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts of the conversations is the leadership playlist.
Okay.
So as you think about what keeps you grounded or inspired in your leadership, are there any books that you would recommend to anybody listening, or a book that either you read recently or read a long time ago?
I don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think getting a PhD burns you out and like technical reading. I don't do a ton of reading about like education
Yeah.
stuff. I really don't. When I read, and I read pretty regularly. I read for like a break. I
Yeah.
read for an escape. And I think so much of my life has been a fight. I'm fighting for something. Um, and reading kind of reminds me what I'm fighting for, and
Great.
usually it's love. So I read a lot of
Romance novels?
not like romance novels. Right now, I'm reading Atmosphere
Cool.
by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Great book. I would say my favorite book though is 100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Also a big fan of Empire of the Summer Moon, and story of the Comanche.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
So I kind of like some historical fiction,
Yeah.
nonfiction. I like a good love story.
Yeah.
Good book that's gonna make me feel some feels at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't read a lot of technical
That's great.
education books, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of venture in and out, every once in a while there's a book that I really want to, read, or that somebody's recommended that's education related or leadership related. But, I also, actually, the book that I just finished is 107 Days by Kamala Harris, which, uh, I had seen some reviews about it and people talking about some of the content of it, and it turned out to be actually a really cool idea. But it's basically like these very short chapters of
like
each day.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So from that first day, 107-day countdown.
Yeah.
And so like each chapter is like, day 59, 56 days remaining, or whatever it was,
cool.
or 46 days remaining. And kind of tell stories of, what this day was like. And it's not every single day, she'll skip every couple, but it was really insightful.
I could get into that.
Yeah. And I learned
like short chapters.
I learned a lot more about her. I learned more about Donald Trump through that too. Apparently, she had a really nice conversation with him after the incident with his ear.
Yeah.
So she called him, and then
that was kind of her.
That was kind of her, and then they had a conversation, and she reflected on it, and she was like, "Yeah, I mean, it was surprising, but anyway." Not education related, but
I do like nonfiction, but I'll gravitate way more towards fiction.
That's great. Yeah. What about music wise? What are you listening to? What's what's one of the songs or artists on your playlist that you come back to, or
going to work in the morning, I always listen to ESPN radio. But I think like music, I love music. I like all different kinds of music. I grew up in the 90s, so I love hip hop. But I love the underground independent hip hop that kind of came out of LA at that time, that I was real blessed to like be a part of. AC Alone, Freestyle Fellowship.
Cool.
Living Legends. They just played Red Rocks. Saw them last Friday. So I loved the independent hip hop movement that I grew up with in LA. But I also love old punk rock. I love the Clash.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, big Clash fan. I love Bob Marley, probably my favorite artist.
Yes.
Like Metallica. I went to some Metallica shows this summer.
Oh, good.
A lot of different kinds of music. I don't think I have one in particular. My playlist is very eclectic, to say the least.
That's great.
And if somebody's in my car listening to music with me, they'll be bouncing all around.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah.
He's my Funko Pops over there. Mostly kind of hip hop, but got Michael Jackson over there. Yeah, Tupac, Erykah Badu, Carlos Santana. Biz Marquis hiding behind the plant.
Oh yeah, I see Biz. Yeah, that was always a good one at the house parties growing up. Totally. Biz Marquis.
Everybody's singing along too.
You got what I need.
That's right.
That was always a good
one. Only because I have you here, and I love you. I did see the score this weekend for the Raiders game.
Yeah. Raiders.
Speaking of ESPN.
Yeah.
And I went to the Broncos game.
Oh, good. Yeah, they won.
They won.
They should have won that
Yeah. Actually, was telling some folks, I didn't know Cincinnati had fans in Cincinnati, let alone in Denver.
Yeah.
There's several Cincinnati Bengals fan shirts in the
Poor Bengals. Poor Raiders.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for that. We're now going into the Destination APS lightning round. So, first quick question is, what does Destination APS mean to you and the Harmony Ridge community?
Well, I think, speaking of like home, right? We're talking a little bit about searching for a place where you want lay down some roots, a place where you want to build something. To me, that's what Destination APS is.
Yes.
It's a district that people would want to come to create
Absolutely.
a home and to lay down some roots and see what they can grow and develop, and for Harmony, I think it's stability. I think that the way the school started, while I wasn't there, I know they opened that first year of COVID, which couldn't be easy.
Right.
Opening remote, brand new school. I couldn't imagine the task to create a community under those circumstances. So starting in COVID, coming back, going back, whatever sort of hybrid they had, losing a principal halfway through the year of, I think, their third year, probably their first full year in the building, even at that, I think stability is what I think it means for Harmony.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And then last question, is there any advice that you would give to leaders who are looking for that home? And what might you
I just think take care of people. Take care of your people. And this is probably like the military side is, don't send your troops into something you're not willing to go in yourself.
Yeah.
So do the work with teachers, take care of them, take care of the kids, love the kids. Just don't lose the human aspect of it, of education, because it's the most important part.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Erik, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with me today. Your journey reminds us that sometimes it takes time to find where we truly belong. And when we do, we can create something really meaningful. And the way that you've helped to build community at Harmony Ridge shows what's possible when a leader finds their home and does the work alongside community and believes in students. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Join us next time as we continue exploring the paths of those who are helping guide us toward Destination APS. And as I always say, until then, keep running your race with purpose. Thank you.